I begin these remarks with an admission. Of all the holy days we celebrate, I like Christmas the most. For me, for all of us, there are more traditions, memories, and festive associations, like decorations, music, and gatherings with special foods and drinks and gifts that all occur with Christmas. Thanks be to God. It has long struck me, if there was no Christmas, there would be no Easter. And conversely, it is Easter that actually gives Christmas its truest meaning and brings light to Christmas's value and its consequence. Tonight, our season of Advent concludes and our season of Christmas begins. The Christmas season begins. And imagine if retail stores began to comprehend that reality. With these remarks, I presume to offer a suggestion as well as an encouragement. I presume to suggest and encourage each of us to pray carefully in the coming days with clear purpose and focus on the mystery we celebrate tonight. Further, I presume to suggest a question to guide our prayer and reflection on this joyful mystery. It is a question we have all likely muttered to others, or perhaps been asked by others. It is a question that seems to me to be uniquely appropriate to the consideration of Christmas. This is a question that at times is asked in consternation and at times in amusement, depending upon the circumstance that prompts one to ask this question. And to my knowledge, it is a question that has never so formally been asked of Christmas. And in asking this question, I am intentionally distancing all the festivities associated with Christmas. And it is a question that my father would ask me, oh, so many times. So please note, I have just offered a very careful lead-up and introduction to the question, which, if any of you are attorneys, you might realize this is the disclaimer. So now, the question. What in God's name were you thinking? I urge us to ask and pray with this question. Present this question to Mary, to Joseph, and to the innkeeper. Ask it of a shepherd, or any of the 3 astrologers or magi from the east. Ask Jesus. Finally, as you consider this joyful mystery we call Christmas, ask yourself, what in God's name are you thinking about Christmas? It is in asking this question that one can begin to understand the nature and truth of Christmas. Christmas is not about decorations, music, gifts, or food, drinks, and parties. While these are all wonderful, to be sure, and likely enjoyable, they do not explain the mystery of Christmas. A friend of mine recently reminded me, we all have a story. I like stories. I like hearing and learning people's stories. So in suggesting the above question, I am urging you, us, to listen to another's story, whether that other be Mary, Joseph, an innkeeper, a shepherd, an astrologer, or perhaps in the coming day or days, You have the courage to ask a relative, a community member, and or a friend, what in God's name are you thinking when you think about Christmas? Christmas is a great mystery, one that continues to be revealed to each of us and one from which we continue to benefit. Jesus' coming continues each moment of each day. One can sense it if one takes the time to pay attention and allow Jesus to come and reveal his very self. In recent years, I've come to appreciate that Jesus came to us as a baby child, exactly the same way each one of us came into this world. Jesus came in this way so that we might better comprehend what in God's name he was doing. Jesus came to us as a child so that his coming would not be an occasion of great misunderstanding, but rather as one like us, in order to be better known by us. So this leads me to ask another question, which is, how much time do I, or how well do I, seek to better know Jesus? It is nice that we celebrate his birthday, to be sure, but do we take or give enough time to knowing Jesus truly? One can never give enough or too much time in getting to know Jesus. With a simple gospel story, and there are so many with which we are likely familiar, it is revealed and clear that Jesus was a powerful speaker and compassionate listener. Often what he said revealed an interior life of significant insight and understanding of the human condition. There were movements within him that moved or impelled him to do something for those he encountered, and he remembered them. This was his way, and the way he instructed the apostles. During his life, Jesus taught many things, not only to the apostles, but to crowds of others, as well as individuals whom he met along the way. Remember the story of the rich young man, the woman with the hemorrhage, the woman at the well, or his encounter with the centurion whose servant was dying, or the widow whose son had died. This was Jesus' way. This was his way, and it remains his way until this very day. And the truth is, he was a teacher, and he continues to teach, and he tries to teach us. And the question is, are we paying attention? Mindful of this, it is important for us to see that we are never too young, or too old, too experienced, or too learned. Jesus is always trying to be known to us and to teach us and to reveal more to us about ourselves, about our humanity, about himself, his creation, and about God, his Abba. Jesus' empathy in the Gospels is a true and great indication of his goodness. Jesus' goodness is very hard to describe in a few words. But here we are centuries later, and 4 centuries, celebrating his birth. And oh, how we look forward to doing that. His goodness is something of which we can never have enough. And the extraordinary thing is that from Jesus' perspective, he can never give enough. He always has more to give. Jesus is someone who is constantly a man of his word. And I don't doubt, rather I firmly believe, when he speaks of the great joy and rejoicing when one who has been lost is found and sincere reconciliation occurs. Understanding this truth, I invite you to gaze at Jesus in the crib, even as an infant, a newborn no less. He draws people to himself. If one is ever to understand the joyful mystery of Christmas, a steadfast and unflinching faith is required. One must be able to behold the crib and the child contained therein and see its beauty. A beauty that holds and enfolds the whole body of Christ. A beauty that reflects the value of every soul it seeks to save. A beauty that enables each soul to feel its worth. What, in God's name, were you thinking? What a great question. My friends, what the world values is not what God values. What the world sees is not what God sees. God sees and appreciates our beauty. We can see, recognize, and acknowledge our own beauty by seeing, recognizing, and acknowledging the beauty of Jesus in that crib. Our beauty, our goodness, is what God sees first and last. Today, this realization, this truth, should affect each one of us in a profound way. The world may well judge the crib as cute or quaint, but for the Christian, it is an indication of a unique and extraordinary love. It is beautiful, for it reflects the truth of the totality of Jesus' love for each one of us and of God's love for all of humanity. Authentic love gives itself as Jesus did. In the crib, we see Jesus' first offering of himself to our care. And later, we see Jesus offer himself completely to his ministry and eventually into an unfair trial, a cruel passion, and a shameful death. He accepted all of that in care for us. What, in God's name, were you thinking? God was thinking of us. That is why tonight we celebrate a joyful mystery. And as full as my love might be at this moment, in God's name, I recognize in this joyful mystery there is more. Thanks be to God.